All right, good morning. You know what time it is. I'm about to give you all this unhinged story about my interaction with two migrant families. And before I get started, I just want to, get this out the way. I don't have any problem with migrants, people coming to this country illegally or legally. It doesn't concern me. It doesn't really affect me to a certain extent. But I used to just watch the news and be like, hey, is this stuff true? Like, I see all these people are coming to this country allegedly. Is this true? I don't really see too much in my backyard, so maybe it's not as bad as what the news is saying. But it turns out some of it is true. And then, as American citizens, we have to know that eventually, just because we don't have an interaction with a migrant family now, doesn't mean we're not going to have one later. And I feel like in the future, we all will have some type of relationship with migrants, people who are legal, people who are here non-illegally. So it's just like we need to get used to the idea of talking to and, relating to and associating with these types of people. And again, I don't have nothing against people coming here legally. I feel like colonization has happened and, people did what they did back then, and that's no different from what's happening today, except these people coming in, I don't feel like they are using violence to come over. So that's the difference between colonization and illegal immigration that we're seeing today. Anyhow, so yes, I own a duplex in Chicago. And about 2 years ago, last year, I should say, Florida passed this law that stated, hey, if you're here illegally, the police have a right to, get your name, escort you out the country, just basically pry into your social life and determine if you're illegal or you're here legally. So at that point, a lot of people moved out of Florida, and especially a lot of illegal immigrants moved out of Florida. And some of them went all over the nation. So this family I did dealings with, they came from Florida. They were from Venezuela, but they landed in Florida, and then they came to Chicago. So to make a long story short, I have a duplex in Chicago, my husband and I, and we decided to rent that duplex out so he can go to school. And, we would just make the extra income via, rental income and pay off our mortgage that way. So we were doing it. It was going well. But we ended up having a vacancy in one of our units. So we got a lot of applications in from potential tenants. My husband was like, hey, I see that this guy messaged you. He seems to be very eager. Let me talk to him. Because right off the bat, I was reading that application. I was talking to him via text message and phone. And I was like, I can't understand you because you're speaking in Spanish. And it's like, I know some Spanish. I'm good at it a little bit. But you'll notice people from different Latin American countries, they speak different types of Spanish. And I cannot understand everyone's types of Spanish. Excuse me. So yeah, my husband was like, yeah, you should rent out to this guy. I know he's here legally, but I think the legals are, they won't make trouble. They will not cause you any trouble. They're gonna pay on time. So let's go ahead and go with them. I was like, you know what? We've never done this before. Let's go ahead and do it. And oh my gosh, it was one of the worst decisions of my life, of my business life. Like honestly, I regret that decision so much. Let me tell you what happened. So I kid you not, these people moved into our unit. Everything was fine for like the first month. They were paying that high rent, and I'm sorry, rent is high everywhere. So us landlords, we have no choice but to raise rent because the bank don't care. The bank is the one holding our hand. So they paid rent the first month. Everything was going well. My manager gives me a call. He's like, hey, Alfred, do you know that a second family moved into that unit? And I was like, what? Like, wait a minute. Like, hold up. Like, this is not how we do things. So essentially, the first family that came from Florida, they moved to our unit in Chicago. And they must have had some friends out in Florida or wherever. And they told those friends, hey, come up to Chicago and we got a place for you to stay. And granted, my place is 2 bed, 1 bath. Like, it can't fit 2 full-grown families. But they did. So sure enough, the second family arrives, and I'm not tripping too much because I'm like, look, just pay the rent, pay the rent, pay the rent. I don't care. Don't tear up the place and just pay the rent and you'll be good. So, the weeks go by and the days go by, and I get more calls from the manager, my property manager, and he's like, hey, Alfred, do you know that they got roaches in that building, in that unit? And I'm like, what? Like, we've never had roaches before, never had a roach infestation in our history of taking over that property. And not only was it just like a basic roach, like a normal roach infestation, it was one of the worst ones I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not being shady, I'm not being mean, I'm not being rude, but the kitchen was full of roaches. The tenants used to call me, those tenants, the illegal immigrant tenants used to call me and be like, hey, I'm going to put some caulking on the walls to prevent the roaches from coming out, of the cracks, wherever they see them, wherever they're coming from. And I just told them, hey, look, no, don't do that. We have a contract with a pest control company, and they come out and they spray. But sure enough, they came out there, they sprayed, but the roaches just kept coming. And I didn't know this. Like, it makes sense to me now, but I didn't know it. But essentially, what I've learned is a lot of migrant families from Venezuela, Colombia, that area over there, are used to living around big bugs, like roaches and stuff. And this is no shade, because I get it, I understand. But they're used to living around roaches, huge ones. And I learned that they don't mind these little small ones because it's nothing compared to what's back at home. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. My other tenants are starting to complain, and what can I do about this? And, another thing that kind of got me with these migrants was how things would break at the property, like appliances would break. And I would be like, don't touch it. Like, don't touch the stuff at the property. Let me hire professionals to come out and repair this stuff. So I hired a professional to come out and repair stuff and look at stuff. And they didn't trust the professional advice. Like, they just kept telling me, these people don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, look, this is not how things work. Like, there are procedures and policies in place. Like, when you sign a lease, there's operating procedures that we have to follow. And you just, fixing up the unit and expecting me to take off rent, that doesn't work here. That doesn't work here. So, for example, I called a repairman to come fix the refrigerator. They didn't want to listen to the repairman, and instead just kept telling me, hey, I need to do this to the refrigerator. I'm like, please do not touch that refrigerator. It's expensive. If you touch it and you break it, like, that's a wrap. So they didn't listen. Like, I want to say, just overall, I was shocked at their level of entitlement and their level of just like, I'm going to do what I want and I don't care what you think about it, or no one's going to stop me. And they ended up vacating the property randomly. Like one random day, they ended up just leaving the property, And my manager was like, hey, Alfred, like they left the property, they left it abandoned, and you have to clean it up and whatnot. And we did, we got everything situated. But I was just shocked how much they didn't care. Like, they just had no respect for the business people here, the citizens here. They had no respect for the law, the police. Like, I would tell them, hey, look, if you guys abandon the property, like, you still have to pay rent. Like, you're going to lose your deposit, X, Y, and Z. They don't care about anything. Like, they just didn't care about anything. They did whatever they want with no consequences. And that's something that we, as the people, need to look out for and be conscious of, because they don't care. Like, if they disrespected the laws to get here, they're going to disrespect the laws when they're here. And I had to learn that the hard way, and it cost me a lot of money. And I don't want that to happen to other people out there. So this migrant crisis is real, man. Like, people, we look at it on the news and we're like, I don't know if this is real or not. This is stupid. Like, I don't care. But it really is going on. It really is happening. And the thing that scares me is, like, once again, like, they have no respect for citizens, the law, whatnot. Like, what do we do with a group of people like that? When I was living in Mexico, I noticed there were no resources or help for American citizens. Like, you're not going to get any type of red carpet treatment. They're there to make money off of you, which I don't blame them. It's a third world country. They have to make a living. They're there to make money off of American people, and they're not shy about it. Like, for example, when you cross the Mexican border, you need to know that there's a tourist price and there's a local native price. And as American citizens, we're all tourists. No matter what you look like, you're an American. All of you are American. Even the Mexican American born people, like the people that are first generation, second generation Mexican, they're all like U.S. citizens. They're all Americans, and you're going to pay that tax, that price. So I noticed that, and I peeped that, and it's just like, it's so weird how in America they lay out the red carpet for people, poor people, whatever. But when you go to these other countries, there are no assistance programs. There is no red carpet. Like, I used to feel bad as an American citizen living in Mexico because I could ball out. Like, you could literally ball out there. And I used to feel bad. And this Mexican man told me, hey, look, don't feel bad, because we do the same thing to the Venezuelans. Like, we go to Venezuela and ball out. Like, everybody is taking advantage of everybody. And I don't know if I should be disappointed with the migrants that I interacted with, or if I should just suck it up because they are using the system. You know, like they are gaming the system. If you go to their country, like for example in Mexico, you can't even talk bad about the Mexican citizens without getting deported, because that's how their constitution works. But the American Constitution here in America is so weird how it's like we're nothing more than workhorses. Like civil rights, like protecting the pride of the American people, like being proud of being an American, is like you're not allowed to do it. Those type of like circumstances and whatever that make you feel like it's okay to be proud and feel proud, they're not there here in America. So I learned that the hard way about migrants. And you know, once again, if I have any future dealings with any migrant people, I'm gonna always, you know, keep it you know, peaceful, keep it jolly, keep it kind, keep it happy, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to hold it against them, but it's just like you need to be careful, you need to be wary about who you're doing business with, because if you run into one of these type of people, just know they don't have any, like there's nothing to stop them from doing what they want to do to you, period. There's nothing to stop them, and I just think people need to know that and be prepared. But I got to go, you guys. Take care and peace.